December 15, 2020. In the apartment of New York City, the murder happens inside the woman's bedroom, where she used to meet her secret lover, the Amazon delivery boy. Laura Greer, age 36, is found dead on her bedroom floor. She was strangled. The room looks messy, with furniture moved around, and her phone is broken on the floor, showing there was a struggle. There are no signs of forced entry, meaning Laura likely knew her attacker. When Laura's husband, Jason Greer, comes home from work, he is shocked to find his wife's body. He calls 911, panicking and pleading for help. Jason insists he doesn't know who could have done this. As the police arrive, they start to suspect him. The apartment is sealed off as investigators begin to look into what happened just moments before. Laura is a stay-at-home mom living in New York City with her husband, Jason, and their 2 young children. To the outside world, Laura seems to have the perfect life, a loving husband, a comfortable home, and well-behaved kids. However, beneath this facade lies a deep sense of dissatisfaction. Feeling trapped in her marriage and longing for excitement, Laura embarks on a secret affair with Michael Adams, an Amazon delivery boy. This relationship brings her a sense of freedom and thrill that she craves, but it also complicates her life in ways she never expected. Laura's struggle between her family duties and her desire for personal fulfillment ultimately leads to tragic consequences. Michael Adams is a 25-year-old Amazon delivery driver who initially appears charming and laid back. He started his affair with Laura after making regular deliveries to her home, drawn in by her beauty and charisma. What began as a casual fling soon spirals into something much darker. Michael becomes possessive and obsessive, convinced that he and Laura are destined to be together. His jealousy grows as Laura tries to pull away, leading him to a breaking point. Michael's desperation and emotional turmoil culminate in a tragic act of violence, revealing the dark side of his obsession. Jason is a dedicated accountant in his late 30s. He works hard to provide for his family and is genuinely loving toward his wife and children. However, his world shatters when he discovers Laura's body. Initially, he becomes a prime suspect due to his emotional outburst and apparent ignorance about Laura's affair. As the investigation unfolds, Jason cooperates fully with the detectives, revealing his shock and devastation. His struggle to comprehend the betrayal adds depth to his character, making him both a grieving husband and a potential victim of circumstance. Rachel, also in her mid-30s, is Laura's closest confidant and the only person who knows about Laura's affair. She is kind-hearted, but feels conflicted about keeping Laura's secret. Throughout the investigation, Rachel grapples with guilt, fearing she could have helped Laura had she urged her to end the affair. Her loyalty to her friend is tested as she navigates her feelings of betrayal and responsibility, ultimately revealing crucial information to the detectives. The story opens on a chilly December evening as Jason Greer comes home from a grueling day at work. He walks into their well-kept New York City apartment, expecting to find warmth and comfort, but instead is met with an eerie silence. The absence of Laura's usual cheerful greeting fills him with unease. He calls out her name, but the only response is the echo of his voice in the quiet space. As Jason moves through the living room, his heart races. He feels a sense of foreboding as he approaches the bedroom door, noticing that it's slightly ajar. Pushing it open, he is struck by a scene that freezes him in place. Laura lies lifeless on the floor, her face contorted in pain. Panic surges through him. He rushes to her side, but there's no pulse, no sign of life. Overcome with shock, Jason dials 911, his hands trembling as he struggles to articulate the horror he's witnessing. "My wife. She's not breathing." He gasps, his voice cracking. The operator assures him help is on the way, but his mind races with confusion and disbelief. When the police arrive, Detective Olivia Hartman takes charge of the scene. With years of experience under her belt, she quickly assesses the situation. Officers begin to cordon off the apartment, and a familiar hum of investigative protocol kicks in. Jason, still in shock, is visibly distraught, his eyes wide with fear and sorrow. In the initial questioning, Detective Hartman's attention is drawn to Jason. Statistics around domestic violence suggest that husbands are often the primary suspects in such cases, and Jason's emotional state raises red flags. He insists he had nothing to do with Laura's death, claiming he had been at work late and couldn't have known who might harm her. Detective Hartman, keenly aware of the complexities of domestic life, shifts her focus to Laura's background. As she delves into Laura's personal belongings, she finds hints of a life hidden beneath the surface: diaries, photographs, and a broken phone that might hold secrets. Among these items, a series of cryptic notes hints at a relationship that could alter the course of the investigation. Detective Hartman begins her investigation by interviewing Laura's friends, neighbors, and colleagues. Each conversation paints a more complicated picture of Laura than the one Jason has presented. Her friends describe her as a vibrant woman who seemed trapped in a life she no longer wanted. Whispers of infidelity swirl around her, but no one can provide solid proof. During one of these interviews, Rachel Stone, Laura's best friend, becomes a key witness. As Rachel hesitantly reveals the truth about Laura's affair with Michael Adams, the Amazon delivery boy, Detective Hartman's interest deepens. Rachel describes how Laura confided in her about feeling suffocated by her marriage, and how the excitement of the affair provided a temporary escape. With this new information, Hartman tracks down Michael. When he arrives for questioning, he appears nervous and fidgety, but initially denies any romantic involvement with Laura. However, Hartman confronts him with the delivery records that show he made frequent stops at Laura's apartment. Under pressure, Michael's facade begins to crack, and he finally admits to the affair, but insists he hasn't seen Laura in days. As the investigation unfolds, Hartman uncovers text messages and emails exchanged between Laura and Michael. The exchanges reveal an alarming pattern. Laura tries to distance herself from Michael, expressing her desire to end the affair and return to her family. Michael's responses grow increasingly erratic, filled with emotional pleas and even threats, showcasing his growing obsession. "You can't leave me. We're meant to be together," one message reads, sending chills down Hartman's spine. This revelation shifts the investigation's focus. Detective Hartman begins to suspect that Michael's obsession with Laura could have led to a dangerous confrontation. She dives deeper into the timeline of their relationship, trying to determine when the dynamics changed and what could have sparked such violence. As Hartman pieces together the evidence, she also grapples with her own emotions, reflecting on her strained relationship at home. The parallels between Laura's life and her own only add to the urgency of the case. With every new piece of information, the tension mounts as she races against time to uncover the truth behind Laura's tragic death, knowing that the answers lie within the tangled web of secrets, lies, and hidden motives that surround both Laura and Michael. Detective Olivia Hartman meticulously reviews the evidence gathered during the investigation, feeling the weight of the case pressing down on her. Among the crucial pieces is surveillance footage from a nearby street camera, which shows Michael Adams' van parked near Laura Greer's apartment on the night of the murder. The timestamps are precise, clearly indicating his presence in the area, contradicting his earlier claims of not being there. Hartman knows this could be the breakthrough she needs to crack the case wide open. With a sense of purpose, Hartman arranges a meeting with Michael at the police station. The air is thick with tension as she walks into the interrogation room where Michael sits, fidgeting nervously. He maintains a facade of confidence, but Hartman can see the cracks starting to show. She plays the surveillance footage on a monitor, watching as Michael's van comes into view. "Michael," she begins, her voice calm but firm. "This video shows your van parked outside Laura's apartment the night she was murdered. Care to explain how you were there when you said you weren't?" As the reality of the evidence sinks in, Michael's bravado evaporates. His face pales, and he starts to sweat. Hartman leans forward, watching him closely. He stutters, fumbling for words, but the truth is catching up to him. Finally, under the weight of the footage and Hartman's probing questions, Michael breaks down. His voice shakes as he confesses, "I went to see her. I just wanted to talk." He recounts the moment that led to Laura's death, his eyes glazing over with a mix of regret and anger. "I saw her texting her husband," he continues, his voice rising. "I thought she was going to end things with me. I couldn't handle it." His jealousy consumed him, transforming his love into something dark and violent. As he describes the confrontation, the room feels heavy with unspoken tension. "When I got there, we started arguing. I just wanted her to tell me she loved me, that she would choose me," he says, his eyes wide with emotion. "But she wouldn't. And in that moment, I lost control." He reveals how, in a blind fit of rage, he strangled her, his hands wrapped around a very person he claimed to love. Hartman watches him closely, grappling with the chilling realization that obsession had led to this tragic end. The confrontation reaches its climax as Michael's confession unfolds a heartbreaking tale of love twisted into violence. The detective feels a knot form in her stomach, understanding that this was not just a murder. It was the culmination of a toxic relationship built on secrecy and deceit. As Michael is taken into custody, the atmosphere in the room shifts. Hartman feels a mix of satisfaction and sorrow. Justice is being served, but at a terrible cost. The implications of Michael's actions weigh heavily on her, and she knows that this case will haunt her for a long time. With Michael Adams officially charged with murder, the courtroom proceedings begin to unfold. As he stands before the judge, handcuffed and defeated, the weight of his actions hangs heavily in the air. The once charismatic delivery boy has become a figure of tragedy, embodying how love can warp into something monstrous. His expression is a blend of regret and defiance, and he struggles to grasp the reality of what he has done. Meanwhile, Jason Greer finds himself in a profound state of despair. The betrayal he feels cuts deeper than the loss of his wife. It's the realization that the woman he loved had hidden a significant part of her life from him. Jason spends his days in a haze, moving through life like a ghost. Friends and family rally around him, offering condolences and support, but their well-meaning words often fall flat. He feels isolated in his grief, unable to express the tumult of emotions swirling inside him. Days turn into weeks, and as the shock begins to fade, Jason wrestles with memories of Laura. He looks through old photographs and recalls the moments they shared, trying to piece together the woman he thought he knew. He grapples with anger towards Michael, but also a deep sadness for Laura, whose choices led to this tragic outcome. The funeral is a small gathering, marked by sorrow and disbelief. Detective Hartman, too, finds herself reflecting on the case long after Michael's arrest. The investigation has opened her eyes to the destructive power of jealousy and secrecy, leaving her to contemplate her own life. As she sits at her desk, poring over case files, she considers the fragility of relationships, how easily they can unravel. Her own relationship at home feels strained, and the case forces her to confront her own feelings of inadequacy and connection. As Michael's trial begins, Hartman attends, observing the proceedings with a heavy heart. She witnesses the impact of his actions not just on Laura's family, but on her own. In the courtroom, as witnesses recount the events leading up to the murder, Hartman feels a sense of closure, but also a lingering sorrow. She knows that while justice is being served, the scars left behind will take much longer to heal. In the end, the resolution is bittersweet. Michael is convicted and sentenced to life in prison, but the emotional damage caused by his obsession remains. Jason tries to rebuild his life, moving forward one day at a time, while Hartman resolves to continue her work with renewed determination. She vows to fight for those who can't fight for themselves, carrying with her the lessons learned from this tragic case. The story serves as a haunting reminder of the complexities of love, trust, and the dire consequences when they go awry. However, just when it seems the evidence is stacking up against him, the discovery of Laura's affair with Michael Adams, the Amazon delivery boy, turns the case on its head. Text messages and call logs reveal that Laura was planning to end the relationship, which enrages Michael and sets the stage for a violent confrontation. This twist not only shifts suspicion away from Jason, but also uncovers a darker side to Michael's character, one driven by obsession and desperation. Michael Adams's character embodies the theme of obsession. What begins as a passionate affair quickly transforms into a suffocating need for control over Laura. He becomes fixated on the idea of them being together, ignoring her boundaries. When Laura decides to end their relationship, Michael's inability to accept this leads him down a dark path. He believes he is justified in wanting to keep her close, leading to a confrontation where love devolves into violence. This theme illustrates how unchecked feelings can morph into a dangerous obsession, blurring the lines between love and control. The narrative serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of possessiveness and the inability to respect personal boundaries. Laura's secret life serves as a poignant exploration of secrecy and betrayal. Living a double life, she juggles her role as a devoted wife and mother with her hidden affair. This duplicity not only places her in danger, but also highlights the emotional toll of living with such significant deception. Her decisions to conceal the truth from Jason reflect a betrayal not only of her marriage, but also of the trust her children place in their parents. The discovery of her affair is a betrayal that has catastrophic consequences, culminating in her tragic death. This theme underscores the idea that secrets, no matter how well guarded, can have devastating repercussions and can lead to an unraveling of relationships. Detective Olivia Hartman finds herself drawn into the emotional landscape of Laura's life as she investigates the murder. Hartman grapples with her own domestic issues. Her marriage is strained, and she often feels disconnected from her husband. As she delves deeper into Laura's story, she begins to reflect on her own choices and the hidden struggles in her life. The parallels between Laura's experiences and Hartman's personal challenges enrich the narrative, showcasing the complexities of love, trust, and the sometimes hidden turmoil that exists within seemingly perfect families. This theme not only adds depth to Hartman's character, but also invites the audience to consider how common domestic struggles can be, revealing that even the most ordinary lives can hold extraordinary secrets. Together, these twists and themes interweave to create a multi-layered narrative that not only captures the suspense of a murder mystery, but also offers a profound commentary on the darker aspects of human relationships. The exploration of obsession betrayal, and personal struggle enriches the story, making it resonate on multiple levels and leaving a lasting impact on the audience. As the sun sets over New York City, casting a somber glow across the skyline, Michael Adams sits in a sterile interrogation room, the fluorescent lights harsh above him. He is a young man, once brimming with dreams, now reduced to a shell of his former self. Charged with the murder of Laura Greer, he stares blankly at the table, his mind racing with regret and disbelief. The evidence against him is overwhelming surveillance footage, text messages, and the chilling confession that spilled from his lips when confronted by Detective Hartman. What began as a passionate affair has spiraled into a nightmare that he cannot wake from. In a separate part of the city, Laura's family is grappling with their grief. Jason Greer, Laura's husband, sits alone in their living room, surrounded by photos of happier times. The vibrant laughter of his children echoes in the background, but it feels muted and distant. He feels the weight of betrayal, not only from Laura, but from the circumstances that led to her death. How could he have missed the signs? He replayed conversations in his mind, looking for clues he should have noticed. The pain of loss mingles with anger, creating a volatile mix within him. His children, unaware of the full truth, sense the tension in their home. They cling to their father, seeking comfort. But Jason finds it hard to provide the solace they need. Friends and neighbors gather to share memories of Laura, their voices hushed as they remember her infectious laughter and kindness. Rachel Stone, Laura's best friend, is particularly devastated. She feels an overwhelming sense of guilt for not being more vigilant. She recalls late-night conversations where Laura expressed her frustrations about her marriage and how the affair had made her feel alive again. Rachel grapples with the thought that perhaps she could have intervened, that she could have urged Laura to make different choices. The community, once filled with the bustling joy of everyday life, now wears a cloak of mourning, struggling to understand how such darkness could invade their neighborhood. As Detective Olivia Hartman drives home after a grueling day, the weight of the case hangs heavily on her shoulders. She thinks about Laura, not just as a victim, but as a person with dreams and desires. Hartman has seen too many lives shattered by secrets, and this case serves as a grim reminder of how easily passion can turn into tragedy. The affair, once a source of excitement for Laura, transformed into a deadly entanglement. She reflects on the risks people take when they seek happiness outside their commitments, often without considering the consequences. Arriving home, Hartman finds her own relationship strained. She notices the unwashed dishes piling up and the silence that fills the house. Her partner, tired and frustrated, waits for her in the dim light of their living room. Hartman feels a pang of guilt as she realizes she hasn't been fully present at home, consumed by her work. As they exchange brief pleasantries, the underlying tension is palpable. She wonders if she has allowed the secrets in her own life to fester, just as Laura had. Case lingers in her thoughts, a constant reminder of the delicate balance between love, trust, and the vulnerability that comes with being human. In the days leading up to the trial, the community remains unsettled. Laura's family prepares for the painful process of confronting Michael in court, knowing that the proceedings will rehash the tragic details of her life and death. Hartman, too, is preparing for the trial, reviewing notes and evidence, but she knows that the legal process cannot heal the wounds left behind. She carries Laura's story with her, determined to honor her memory by bringing justice to her family. As she lays in bed, Hartman reflects on the lessons learned from this tragedy. The emotional scars left on Jason and the children will take time to heal, and the community will bear the weight of loss for years to come. She vows to advocate for open communication and understanding in relationships, hoping that others will learn from Laura's story. The darkness of secrets may loom large, but Hartman believes in the power of truth and the importance of confronting emotions before they spiral out of control. The night deepens, and as she finally closes her eyes, Hartman whispers a silent promise to Laura's memory to fight for justice, to seek understanding, and to remind others that behind every headline is a deeply human story, filled with love, pain, and the complexities of life.